Today we're going to be talking about the expectations for Walker Kessler, the all-rookie center from last season on the Utah Jazz, who's looking to make great strides after having time to play and just practice alongside other great players that were on the younger end of the spectrum in the FIBA tournament this year. Thanks for tuning into this video, guys. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops, and let's get right into this one. Now, some people did see a lot of Walker Kessler in the news, more so because it seemed that Steve Kerr drastically misused him and decided to stick to his own philosophies as to how he coaches the Warriors more so than focusing on whatever wins you basketball games. And that included starting Jaren Jackson at the center spot when Jaren Jackson traditionally plays games alongside Steven Adams. With that being said, this video is about Walker Kessler, so let's get into the good stuff. He was, as I said, an all-rookie player last season. He was picked in the round 1 at the 22nd pick overall, and he stands at a staggering 7 feet tall. Now, the Jazz were known for having the 7-footer before him in Rudy Gobert, but after they traded him away, you thought they were going to take a drastic step back on the defensive side of the ball because they just wouldn't have the personnel to do what they did before. Well, surprise, surprise, they found him, and his name is Walker. And he's been handling business. Now, he hasn't played very many minutes in the games that he's been a part of, but his play did start to ramp up and he saw the court a lot more later on in the season. At the end of the year, he did averaging 9.2 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 0.9 assists to go along with 2.3 blocks, while shooting 72% from the field. And he did this in just 23 minutes, which works out to him blocking roughly 8.4% of the shots that occurred while he was on the floor. Now, I had a chart constructed for you guys so that you could see what things look like when I broke down his numbers from a month-to-month standing point, just so that you could understand how close the comparison is to himself, between himself and Rudy Gobert, and just what you can expect for him going forward. In October, he played 16 minutes a game on average, averaging 5.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and 1.6 blocks, while shooting 62.5% from the field. In November, he averaged 14.9 minutes, scoring 4.8 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 0.4 assists, 1.6 blocks, and 74.5% shooting from the floor. In December, his minutes increased to 23.7 minutes a game, averaging 9.5 points, 8.7 rebounds, 0.6 assists, 2.1 blocks, and shooting 74.1% from the field. In January, his minutes were roughly the same as December, averaging 23.8 minutes per game, scoring 10 points, 9.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and 2.3 blocks, shooting 69% from the floor. In February, his minutes increased once again up to 29.1 minutes per game. He scored 10.6 points per game, 11.4 rebounds, 1 assist, and averaged 3.2 blocks per game while shooting 68.9% from the field. In March, he averaged roughly close to those February minutes, however, a slight reduction as he did average 28.7 minutes per game. But this didn't stop him from scoring the most that he had in any other month at 13.8 points per game, grabbing 10 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists, and 3.2 blocks once again, while shooting 75.7% from the field. In April, he did only have the one game, which was against the Brooklyn Nets, in which he played 22 minutes and had 6 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 60% from the floor. He will be going into next season as the starting center for the Utah Jazz, alongside John Collins at the power forward spot and Lauri Markkanen at the small forward spot. The expectation is guard-wise, you're looking at Jordan Clarkson running the shooting guard spot. Now, the most money is being paid to Colin Sexton, so the expectation is now that he's healthy, he will be the guy that has the upper hand going into training camp, but it's essentially anybody's job as the front office has made it abundantly clear to the public. As for Rudy Gobert's averages, his predecessor from this same season where he was traded to the Timberwolves, and his sole purpose was to provide the defensive support that Karl Anthony Towns just quite simply doesn't provide for a team, though he does have the shooting touch. And things did not go exactly as beautifully as some people might have anticipated it to, but it wasn't a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. His numbers were as follows. In October, he averaged 32.4 minutes a game, scoring 14.1 points, 14.7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1.7 blocks on 60.6% shooting from the floor. In November, 31.1 minutes, scoring 13.2 points, 10.2 rebounds, 0.8 assists, 1.2 blocks, shooting 67.4% from the field. In December, he averaged 30.7 minutes, 13.7 points per game, 12.1 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 1.2 blocks, shooting 71.8% from the field. In January, he averaged 30.5 minutes, averaging 12.8 points per game, 11.4 rebounds, 0.9 assists, and 1.4 blocks on 68.5% shooting. In February, he averaged 27.1 minutes per game and scored 13.8 points, 10 rebounds, 0.8 assists, 1.5 blocks, and 69.2%. In March, he averaged 32.4 minutes per game and scored 14.7 points, which was his highest out of any month, 12.4 rebounds to go along with 2.3 assists and 1.4 blocks, scoring on 60.8% of his attempts on the field. In April, he did end up playing in slightly more games than Walker Kessler. He did play in 4. He averaged 27.8 minutes in those games, averaging 8.5 points, 10.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, which was his highest total, obviously on the most small sample size, so it's not to be taken too seriously, and then 1.3 blocks per game while shooting 62.5% for the field. The extra games that were added in will come from the first round of the playoffs, in which they lost in 5 games against the Nuggets, where he averaged a whopping 15 points per game, 12.2 rebounds, 2.0 assists, and 1 block per game while shooting 63% from the field. Now, those numbers were obviously slightly more impressive than Walker Kessler's, but there's also things to be thought about when you consider the fact that he's quite simply just played more minutes on average in every game that he's played. With that, though, despite his knowledge and the understanding that he is a proper rim protector, he did block a lot less shots than most people kind of expected him to, and Walker Kessler did a lot more with a lot less time. And seeing how he did play in his limited minutes against the FIBA international teams, it's more likely that we're going to see a rejuvenated Walker Kessler that's motivated to really show the league what he is capable of doing when he's on the floor. And I expect him to be an absolute menace on the defensive side of the ball, anchoring that Jazz defense that will be no slouch and won't be as simple as the old Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Rudy, cover me while I get blown by. Because I don't think that's going to happen with this roster. While Colin Sexton isn't necessarily the lengthiest point guard to have on the court, he's one of those guys that just gives immense energy. Similarly to Chris Dunn, and Jordan Clarkson is no slouch either, though what Jordan Clarkson does miss out on defense, he does score a lot of points on offense. And while he can tend to be streaky from time to time, he is decently efficient overall. With that being said, having a front court that has the length of Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler is going to be something that is very beautiful to look at with your eyes. And just like I did with John Collins, I did come up with a rough spectrum of what I expect him to score, considering that I expect him to play an increased number of minutes. Probably we're going to see him play closer to the 34 to 36-ish, 37-ish minutes per game, just depending on how his stamina is and how his lungs are. He is a big player, but you don't want to sit there and just waste him while he's on the court if it's unnecessary. That being said, I believe he'll average between 14 and 16 points per game, 10 rebounds to 14 rebounds, 1 assist to maybe 1.8, 2.0 assists per game, and then 2.3 blocks per game. On the high end, I could see him going for up to quite possibly 4 blocks a game. Now, it's most realistic that he's going to end up with like 3.4 to 3.6, which is a phenomenal number in and of itself. But I think he does have the capability that if teams don't game plan for him early in the season, he could go on a tear where he does end up really just locking in and erasing the glass. Anything that gets put close to it, he's clearing it off. Obviously, on the low end, I expect him to shoot closer to 65% from the field. And on the high end, probably 70, 71%, somewhere in that realm. With that being said, let me know what you guys think about Walker Kessler in the comments. Tell me if you think that he's already better than Rudy Gobert, if you think that this season will be his year to prove that he's really an all NBA caliber defender, and where he ranks overall as a center in today's league. With that being said, thanks for tuning into this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on those post notifications. And as always, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.